Long, long ago, in the warm and fertile lands of southeastern Nigeria, there lay a village named Umueze. Surrounded by towering iroko and palm trees, and watered by the Aji River that flowed like a silver snake through the earth, Umueze was a place of beauty, balance, and deep tradition. The people of Umueze were hardworking and wise. They farmed yams, reared goats, and told stories by moonlight under the old baobab tree in the village square. The air always carried the scent of roasting maize, fresh palm wine, and incense from shrines where families prayed to their ancestors. Life moved to the rhythm of the seasons and the voice of the gods. But among the noble and honest people of Umueze lived one man who did not walk the path of righteousness. His name was Okonkwo. Okonkwo was not poor. In fact, he was one of the wealthiest men in the village. But his wealth came not from hard work or divine blessing, but from deceit, trickery, and exploitation. He was a trader who roamed from village to village, carrying a sack filled with charms, potions, and supposedly magical items. He sold protection rings to warriors, fertility powder to desperate women, and death resistance powder to old men fearing their final day. All lies. His voice was smooth, his tongue as sharp as a razor, and he always wore a lizard skin belt and red coral beads to make himself look like a true spiritualist. But in truth, Okonkwo neither feared the gods nor respected the ancestors. He mocked the village dibia in secret and boasted to strangers, "I create my own destiny. Who are the spirits to command me?" He lived in a compound with high mud walls and a carved wooden gate, surrounded by symbols of wealth: brass pots, rare monkey skin drums, and a goat tied to every post. Yet, despite all he had, his heart thirsted for more. One evening, after swindling a woman in the far-off village of Umueze, Okonkwo decided to take a shortcut home through the infamous path called Ọnụ Ezi, which snaked through the dense forest. This path, although shorter, was feared by most. It was said to be haunted, not by animals, but by spirits who punished pride, greed, and arrogance. The sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows through the trees. The air grew cool, and the chirping of birds fell silent as Okonkwo walked. The leaves whispered like gossiping elders. The deeper he went, the more the forest pressed in on him, as though it watched. Then suddenly, his eyes caught a glimmer on the path ahead. He stepped closer, and there, resting neatly in the center of the trail, was a small, dark wooden casket, no larger than a goat's skull. It was carved from black ebony, so smooth it shone like oil, and engraved with strange, spiraling symbols that seemed to shift as he looked at them. It hummed, ever so softly like a distant drum. He looked around. No one. Then a cool breeze brushed the back of his neck, and with it came a whisper, dry and distant. "Leave it." But Okonkwo only laughed, brushing the voice away like a fly. "The forest rewards the bold," he muttered. Without hesitation, he picked up the casket. It was heavier than it looked, as though it contained something ancient, something alive. Without a second thought, he slipped it into his bag and continued on, unaware that from that moment, his fate had changed. That night, back in his compound, Okonkwo placed the casket in his inner room, a chamber only he entered. He lit his oil lamp, opened a fresh calabash of palm wine, and celebrated his discovery, convinced he had found some powerful charm. Perhaps it held gold, or better, a spirit he could trap and command. But as the village lay in silence and the moon cast its silver glow, a strange wind stirred through the air. The flame in his lamp flickered violently. Then it happened. Bum! 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 3 heavy knocks echoed from inside the inner chamber. Okonkwo sat up sharply. "Who's there?" he called, his voice trembling slightly. No answer. He took up his machete and cautiously opened the door. The room was undisturbed. The casket lay exactly where he had placed it, but something felt different. The air was cold, and it smelled faintly of earth and decay. He shook his head and laughed nervously. "Rats," he muttered, and returned to his mat. But deep within the casket, something stirred. By the next morning, the signs were undeniable. 3 of his healthiest goats had died overnight, their eyes wide open as though they had seen something horrifying. His yams, perfectly stored just days before, were covered in mold. His market customers began avoiding him, claiming his stall gave off a foul stench, and that when he spoke, his voice seemed to echo with something otherworldly. Even his apprentice, Chibik, complained that when he cleaned the inner room, the casket would sometimes shift on its own, or whisper unintelligible words in a voice not quite human. But Okonkwo was stubborn. He would not believe. "Fear is for the weak," he spat. "I will master whatever is inside that box." But the village elders began to speak in hushed tones. Even the animals grew wary. Children refused to enter his compound. It was clear, a curse had come to Umueze. Out of desperation, Okonkwo visited the village Dibia, Obwefi Niemeka, a man whose eyes were clouded by age but sharp with ancient knowledge. His shrine was filled with cow skulls, dried herbs, and clay figures that seemed to watch you as you moved. Okonkwo dropped the casket before him and demanded, "Tell me what this is, old man." But the moment Niemeka laid eyes on the box, he recoiled as though stung. His hands shook. He traced one of the symbols with his finger and muttered a prayer in a forgotten tongue. "This," he whispered, "is not a charm. It is not gold. It is a vessel of punishment. A prison for a spirit. It is the casket of wrath, Akpid Aku Ogu, forged by the gods long ago to punish those who defy them." Okonkwo scoffed. "You fear a box?" Niemeka's voice rose. "This box feeds on greed. Every desire you have feeds it. Every lie, every betrayal, it grows stronger. Return it to the place you found it. Perform the ritual. Or else." But Okonkwo refused. "I am not afraid of wood and stories." And so the knocking returned, louder, fiercer, unrelenting. That night, as thunder rolled across the sky and lightning cracked like a whip, the voice from the casket grew clearer. "I am full. Let me out." Okonkwo tried to bury it. It rose back to the surface. He flung it into the river. It appeared at his doorstep. He set it on fire. The flames died instantly. Fearing for his life, he fled to Nui, spending 2 nights in a friend's compound. But when he returned to Umueze, his house, his goats, his yams, his storehouse all gone. Not burnt. Not broken. Simply erased. As though it had never existed. And in the center of the now empty plot stood the casket, glowing faintly beneath the midday sun. The villagers gathered. A wind rose. The earth trembled. Then a voice, deep, ancient, and echoing through the trees, boomed. "He who takes what is not his shall give what he cannot afford. Greed opens the mouth of destruction." At once, Okonkwo fell to the ground, convulsing. He screamed, then laughed like a madman. He tore his clothes, cursed the gods, then fled into the forest. Some say Okonkwo was taken by spirits. Others believe he still roams the woods, dirty and wild, muttering, "Let me out, let me out." Fishermen claim to have seen a man with glowing eyes drinking river water with his bare hands. Hunters speak of a shadow that follows them through the trees, whispering bargains. And in Ọnụ Ezi, when the moon is full, you can still see the casket sitting alone, waiting. Many moons passed. The rains came and went. New Yam festivals were celebrated. Children were born. The villagers of Umueze tried to forget the tale of Okonkwo, or at least pretend to. But no one walked Ọnụ Ezi anymore. Even the bravest warriors gave it wide space, their machetes clutched tighter when the wind rustled from that direction. Then one morning, a young girl named Obianuju, curious and strong-willed, ventured too close. She had heard the stories, of course. Everyone had. But she didn't believe in monsters in boxes. Her grandmother had said, "A casket once stolen still waits to be opened again." But Obianuju was bold, clever, and filled with the fire of youth. As she walked near Ọnụ Ezi, following a goat that had strayed, she heard a soft, rhythmic hum, like a distant drumbeat pulsing through the earth. Then she saw it, small, black, glowing faintly, resting on a flat stone like an offering to no god. The same casket. She stepped closer. The air shifted. A whisper floated out, no louder than a breath. "I am still hungry." Obianuju ran back to the village, eyes wide, heart pounding. She told the elders. For the first time in years, the people gathered beneath the great baobab tr. The one where tales were told and judgments were made. The eldest among them, Neka the Wise, whose back was bent with age but whose mind was sharp as a blade, spoke. "It has returned because it was never returned properly." Okonkwo refused the ritual. His greed kept the spirit alive. The Dibia's son, now a grown man named Abadike, stood and said, "Then let us finish what he would not. Let us return it." And so preparations were made. On the night of the next full moon, Abadike, Obianuju, and 4 chosen elders entered Ọnụ Ezi. Each carried sacred items, chalk, kola nuts, ancestral staffs, and a bowl filled with water from the Aji River mixed with ashes from the village hearth. They found the casket as before, waiting, glowing, pulsing. As the wind picked up and the forest fell silent, they formed a circle. Abadike spoke in the ancient tongue. The elders chanted. Obianuju, heart steady, poured the sacred water in a circle around the casket. The symbols on the casket began to twist violently, glowing red like burning embers. The voice returned, louder now. I was not made to sleep. I was made to feed. Then, from the trees, a figure emerged. Wild. Barefoot. Clothed in leaves and shadows. Okonkwo. He was unrecognizable. Eyes still glowing, skin covered in symbols, the same as those on the casket. He laughed, wept, and reached for the box. It is mine. I paid its price. Let me have it. Abadike stepped forward, raising his staff. No more. This ends tonight. The elders chanted louder. The wind howled. Okonkwo screamed, a sound no human should make, and as the final words of the ritual were spoken, he lunged. But the ground beneath him opened. Roots twisted around his legs, pulling him downward. The casket opened on its own, revealing nothing inside, just endless blackness. With a final scream, Okonkwo and the box sank into the earth. The wind died. The forest fell still. From that day, the path of Ọnụ Ezi grew over with thick vines and thorns. No one dared clear it. Children were taught the tale, not just as a bedtime story, but as a warning. Take only what is yours. Feed no greed, lest it feed you to the dark. And in the heart of Umueze, carved above the shrine door, were the words, Greed opens the mouth of destruction. Let no soul forget.